So our next one is heel pitch. Heel pitch is another really interesting metric. This one particularly has to do with how we are interacting with the ground. It's a measurement of how quickly the loading of the a little bit technical here, but bear with me for a second, I'll explain it. This is a measurement of how quickly the loading of the vertical repulsive force occurs and how quickly it is transferred to the phase that converts it into propulsion. The way that I can sort of visualize this with runners is with some runners, with maybe a little bit more novice runners or runners who don't have as much ability to transfer energy well, we can sort of see this lag happening on the ground. It's sort of like they hit the ground. Sometimes it looks a little bit more like the ground hits them. And there's a little bit of a delay as they're moving over their stance leg, and being able to translate that force into something that's usable and propulsive. And when we look at really elite runners, they operate almost like they're on springs. They hit the ground, it's very active, and they immediately translate that force and be able to move quickly over that leg, load themselves, and transfer it into propulsive force. And so this is a really, really interesting graph here. This is, again, a little bit technical, but this is some of our raw data. And I like to show this just because I think it's a pretty powerful example, even though it can look a little bit complex with some different lines and colors and graphs. But basically what we can see here is we have got two marathoners. We've got a 2:03 and a 2:07. So very high level marathoners in both of these athletes. Very, some people would say very, very, very small detectable differences between them. And if you just watch the two of them run visually, yeah, they probably look very close to the same. The nice thing about with our sensors and with these MPIs is we can detect very small differences, even at that high level, to be able to provide tools that can give you, that really fine look, if you're looking for it, into, what's holding you back and areas where you can improve. So the basic idea of this graph here is we can see this at the bottom, this contact time on this first vertical line on the left here. That's when they strike the ground. And then as they're moving forward over it, we can see the 2:03 marathoner on this purple line, they ramp up and start to increase and achieve their max propulsive force a little bit faster than that 2:07 marathoner does. So, even when this is even at the same speed and cadence, we might think that those two basic or advanced metrics were maybe something that was enough to differentiate these runners previously. But we can see that there's these really important detectable differences. And if I'm, that 2:07 marathoner and I'm looking to improve my speed to be able to knock 4 minutes or 5 minutes off of that time, these are the types of things I need to be paying attention to. These are areas where I have area to improve and I've got sort of unlocked potential. So why is this important? Sort of summary of what we just went over. A runner has to be able to hit the ground and quickly store and release elastic energy. And these elite runners in general, we can see they're able to store this energy faster. And what this results in is a faster transition and transfer to propulsion and a better score. And this allows us to, when we're comparing across cadences, runners at the same cadence, runners at the same speed, this provides an entirely different element that we can see as a differentiating factor that's a key factor to pay attention to, because heel pitch can also be affected by various other elements of form, especially things like fatigue, and being able to maintain this force production and this transfer of it for, if I'm a 2:07 marathoner, 127 minutes is going to be really key to being able to use, my engine and what I have available as energy to its fullest. So what should we aim for in general? A lower score. And also maintenance of our scores for longer durations, like I just talked about with fatigue. Some elite athlete data here, we can see the 2:03 marathoner, a 2:18 marathoner, and a 2:35 marathoner that we've been able to test here and gather some data on. And like we just talked about, these are all high-level performers in their sport. These are fast runners. These are technically proficient runners who pay a great deal of attention to how they train, how they recover, how they move. They're in the gym, they're doing strength conditioning training, they're doing movement drills. And what we can still see here across these three increasing paces, we've got 3:52, we've got 3:20 per kilometer, we've got 2:58 per kilometer, which is definitely getting up there. you know, even across these three marathoners, we can see some differences in how they're able to tolerate, generate force, and transfer it into usable forward energy. So the 203 marathoner has a little bit of an edge over the other two. It's definitely something that stands out as something they've been able to refine that's helped them achieve the level that they're at. You know, there's only a few people in the world that are, you know, 203 marathoner, and those differences that can separate them are not only really important, but, you know, very, very minute sometimes.